let's be real, in a world that never stops talking, how do you find your own silence? Today, we're going to dive into an ancient practice that, honestly, feels more relevant now than ever before. It's called Pratyahara, and it's a really powerful tool for finding some calm in all this modern chaos. I mean, does this feel familiar to you? That constant buzz from your phone, the endless stream of information you're scrolling through, that feeling of being pulled in, a dozen different directions at once? It's just total sensory overload, and for so many of us, it's just become normal. And as Sadhguru points out here, this isn't just a feeling we have, it's our reality. We're getting hit with an onslaught of sensory input that's unlike anything in human history. Our phones, our screens, our cities, they're all screaming for our attention all the time, making that simple act of just turning inward feel almost impossible. But what if I told you that's exactly what we're here to talk about? An ancient technique that's like a direct antidote to this modern problem, a way for you to actually reclaim your focus and your energy from all that noise out there. So, this practice is called Pratyahara. And as you can see, it's the fifth of the 8 limbs of Ashtanga yoga. Now, its position here is so important. It comes right after the physical postures, asana, and breath control, pranayama. And that placement, it marks this critical shift from the outward stuff to the really deep internal states of meditation. It's a huge step, and honestly, it's the one that often gets overlooked. Okay, so what is this thing, Pratyahara? Well, at its core, it's the practice of consciously withdrawing your senses. Think of it like a bridge, an essential bridge that takes you from the chaos of the external world into the vast, quiet landscape of your inner world. Let's break the word down for a second. It comes from 2 Sanskrit roots, prati, which means something like towards or against, and ahara, which means gathering. So you put them together, and pratyahara is basically this practice of gathering your senses and pulling them inward, away from all the external distractions. The ancient texts have this absolutely brilliant analogy to explain this. Picture this. Your mind is the queen bee, and your 5 senses, sight, sound, taste, touch, smell, they're the swarm. Now, the swarm doesn't just fly off on its own. It always, always follows the queen. It's the exact same with your senses. They follow your mind. So here's the key insight. You don't have to fight each sense one by one. If you can just bring the mind to a place of rest, the senses will naturally settle down right along with it. And this slide just illustrates Pratyahara's role perfectly. The first 4 limbs you see on the left, those are called bahiranga, the external practices. The final 3 on the right, those are antaranga, the internal practices, deep meditation. And what's sitting right there in the middle? Pratyahara. It is literally the bridge that connects them. It's the turning point where our focus intentionally shifts from the outside world to our own inner landscape. Okay, so that's the what. But why should we even do this? What's the real payoff of learning to withdraw our senses? Well, it all comes down to building our inner energy. Yogic philosophy suggests that our senses can actually be, misleading. They create a picture of reality that we mistake for the whole truth. But there's the seer, that's your inner consciousness. And then there's the seen, which is the external world. Pratyahara helps you realize that you are the seer, and all the drama of the seen doesn't have to define your experience. And when you practice this, the benefits are profound. I mean, think about it. Every time you react to a notification or get lost in some train of thought, you're spending vital energy, or prana. And this isn't some mystical idea. It's the very fuel for your focus, your creativity, your well-being. By conserving this energy, you start to break free from these automatic reactions. You stop being a puppet to your impulses, and you gain conscious control over how you engage with the world, which is a kind of mastery over your own existence. Here's a powerful modern story that illustrates this perfectly. Sadhguru talks about walking for weeks in a forest, seeing only nature, no human faces. He says that even when we just look at another person, there's this constant subconscious transaction of approval and disapproval happening. By withdrawing from just that one sensory input, he felt so energized that he had the sensation of floating, even though he was mostly starving. That is a wild testament to how much energy our senses truly consume every single day. So how can we tap into that same reservoir of energy without, having to disappear into a forest? Well, the good news is the practice itself is way more accessible than you might think. Let's look at how you can take your very first step. But before we get to the steps, it is so important to remember this. When you first sit down and your mind goes crazy,
don't get discouraged. Your mind isn't actually going anywhere. It's just replaying old data, its own badly directed cinema, as Sadhguru puts it. The goal isn't to stop the film, it's to simply stop believing that it's real.
So here it is, a very simple practice you can start today. First, find a quiet place, sit down comfortably, and close your eyes. Now, this next part is the most important one. Let your mind go. Just let it run its course. Don't try to stop it. Like Sadhguru says, there are no breaks. Your only job is to just be a witness. Don't engage with the thoughts, don't get involved in the story, just watch. And try starting with an hour a day. It can have a profound impact. And it's really important to understand this. This practice isn't about becoming a hermit or rejecting the world. It's not about building a wall between you and your life. No, the true goal is to transform your relationship with the world. It's about shifting from a life of compulsive, automatic reactions to one of conscious, intentional engagement. It's really the difference between being a slave to your senses and being the master of them. And that leaves us with a final question to consider. That swarm of the senses always follows the queen bee of the mind. So if you were to guide your mind inward, just for a little while each day, and let your senses follow, what do you think you would find?